Hey, welcome back to Even More Mashed Up. We are the pop culture podcast that talks about all things pop culture. I'm Allan.
And I'm Patrick. And today we're talking about Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse does whatever a Spider-Verse can.
Look out.
Spins a web.
Listen, bud.
Any size. Lots of spiders. Some of them guys.
Look out.
Here comes the Spider-Verse.
That's good. That's not bad.
See,
You had something in you.
That was all I had. Was some. And literally all I had was the first two words, which are Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Well, sometimes the improv does better than something you've scripted.
Yeah, so today we are talking about Across the Spider-Verse.
To kick off, if I might say, the summer season.
Yeah, the summer. Oh, yes, it is.
You
the
won
summer
some kind
season.
of bet, and I had to accept seasons.
You did have to accept seasons.
I am now embracing the fact that we do seasons.
That's right, the summer season, which means we're talking about big summer movies and also doing the show somewhat sporadically.
That's right. Yes, both things.
Both things are true of the summer.
And so today is across. It's across the Spider-Verse.
It is across the Spider-Verse.
I can never remember which one came first. I'm
Into.
already confused.
You go into, and then you go across it, and then you go beyond it.
Oh, is there a beyond next?
You did not stay through the credits, did you?
Yeah, there was nothing at the end.
They showed in the mid credit scene was just they showed the Beyond the Spider-Verse.
I just can't believe I'm supposed to watch the credits. I mean, I was looking at my phone waiting for the end scene.
Yeah, I just type into my Google on my phone post-credit scenes across Spider-Verse, and the article comes up telling you there are none. So the first time
and
I
yet
watched,
you sat anyway.
I stayed for the logo, yeah, and then I left.
Is it because you really liked the logo, or because you
I
thought there might be something there?
No, I liked the song.
Oh,
the first song that played. They said on the thing that I read, you should stay for the credits because the two songs in the credits are the best songs in the film.
Interesting.
I only know the first one because I didn't stick around for the second one either time that I saw the movie.
So you've seen it twice?
Yes.
So I think that's something of a...
for having to read applications yesterday, I would have seen it a third time yesterday.
So I feel as if you really like the movie.
I do really.
Can
like
I pitch
the
a
movie.
theory to you?
Oh no!
If you buy a tin for the popcorn before you've seen the movie, you can't really then come out and say you didn't like it.
Yes, I can because I have done that.
For what?
Rise of Skywalker.
Really?
Because I bought the tin.
Did you ask to return the tin when you were done?
No.
So you took it home and just... Do you still have it?
I do. I have a collection of tins now because I've got...
I think we talked about that.
I've got the one for Infinity War. I've got Captain Marvel. I've got Wakanda Forever. I've got Rise of Skywalker. And Guardians 3 and now Spider-Verse.
See, then I'm wrong. I was assuming that if you buy the tin going in, you kind of have to say you like it coming out because otherwise it's a $15 investment you've wasted.
Well, it's better than the $30 investment. They have a Optimus Prime head that you literally open the top of his head and that's where the popcorn is.
You know what?
And his eyes light up.
I wish we had not bought you Legos for your birthday because that would have been like the greatest birthday gift ever.
And I think his eyes light up. He's like $30.
That's ridiculous. But somewhere there's like a 7-year-old kid in Guatemala, and he's like, "Oh man, Patrick's got a shrine to all of my work."
Well,
and I've got a bright, shiny nickel.
Well, the 7-year-old kid in Guatemala will be very happy because the second time I went and saw the film, a woman in front of me bought the Optimus Prime head.
Yes,
and the guy handed it to her in a bag, but she didn't realize that the opening was at the bottom, and so it literally fell out, and the head cracked off.
Why would you put it in a bag that had an opening at the bottom?
I don't know. Well, because they have them in bags, and they're all individually bagged.
Okay.
But for some reason,
he grabbed the wrong end of the bag?
They handed it to her with the wrong end up. And as
wasn't it filled with popcorn?
No. I think she was just buying it.
Buying the head.
Just buying it to have. She didn't actually get popcorn in it this time.
That's weird.
Yeah, but then it literally fell on the ground, and I think they went and got her a second.
They got another one?
Yeah.
That's what capitalism should do.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently. Because literally, I looked, I was like, it's just an Optimus Prime head, but then they showed a video where literally like the middle part of his head opens up.
You say all of this like it makes it better?
Interesting. In a kind of cheesy way, yes, I do. If it wasn't $30, I might consider getting it, but $30 is ridiculous.
$30 is a lot.
That's ridiculous.
And you don't really like the Transformers.
Exactly, yeah.
It seems doubly weird that you would go for something like that.
Yeah, but I do have a nice collection of tins in my house now.
Well, I know that you were somewhat disappointed that my nephew ended up with a different tin.
I'm not disappointed because I'm not that obsessive a collector. That
nobody in the studio believes a single word of that sentence.
Yeah. No, it is upsetting to me. No.
Are you going to go get another one then?
Well, no, because I apparently would have to go to a different theater franchise to get that one.
Oh, let's go to a different theater franchise.
But I don't know which franchise you went to.
We went to an Imagine.
Okay, that's probably only in Michigan.
No, they just opened one in Indiana. I saw a commercial for it.
Yeah, none of that is close.
So you know what they do at this theater? They serve you food once you sit down.
You can do that at Cinemark.
Like Michigan's very fancy.
Yeah, we had that. We had that at. We had one of those in Oregon too, where you could sit there and order food. They had like a menu. You could have beer delivered.
It's appalling because they still serve after the movie started.
Oh no, you're supposed to do it all before
pizza.
the movie.
There's like pizza guys like delivering
No,
pizza.
no, you're supposed to get that all done before the movie starts.
I know you're supposed to. I was very disappointed that they're literally serving food while I'm trying to watch the movie.
That's almost as bad as my first experience seeing the film.
What's that?
Well, because number one, there was a crying baby throughout most of the film.
You don't like babies,
and then,
do you?
Not when they're crying relentlessly through the movie I'm trying to watch. And then I'm sitting in a row with like a whole family of like three or four kids.
Yeah.
Each of whom
lovely.
Each of whom I think had to get up to use the bathroom twice during the film.
So that's 8.
But would walk in front of me and of course realize something's happening that they want to watch on the screen and stop in front of me. And I'm
You've been known to get up twice to go to the bathroom in the course of
Not twice. No, only once.
Only once?
Only once.
All right.
So, but yeah, it was. So that was.
We could do a whole show on just theater.
And then
culture,
and then the second time I went and saw it, there was another kid that was clearly having a complete tantrum.
So it's children you don't like.
But the mom took that kid outside fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And then as we're sitting there during the trailers, there's a woman sitting a couple seats down that's literally narrating during the entire trailers. I'm like, please don't do this. But thankfully, the movie was loud enough that I couldn't hear her if she was.
That's interesting because a lot of people have complained about the sound mix.
Yeah. I didn't really notice. The only issue, I had a couple times where hearing Spider-Punk was a little tricky.
Yeah, there were moments of that the mixing felt a little odd to me.
Yeah. So, but not like endemic across the film.
So you love the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
this movie.
I will say I still like Into the Spider-Verse a smidge better.
Did you rewatch? Because
I've watched Into the Spider-Verse it's on like TBS a lot.
Oh right, and you're part of that, like whatever TBS is drip feeding into your veins. You're just like,
pretty much.
I have more.
They've literally been doing.
I will watch, and it's like
for
TBS
some reason they've been doing
a
Spider-Man marathon. They've been showing all the Spider-Man films,
maybe
like
because
all last
Spider-Man's
week.
coming out.
I was being sarcastic when I said for some reason.
Well, it sounded pretty genuine, honestly.
That's my acting ability right there. Acting.
You know what I loved most about this movie?
Fun facts?
Okay.
No, what do you love most about the movie, Allan?
The movie proved that I don't just hate all superhero movies. I'm not just a cranky old man who comes in and yells at clouds every show. It demonstrates that everything I've said to criticize the stuff that we've talked about recently is obviously genuinely true because it's not that I hate superheroes.
Then that feeds into my first question for you. Given the success of this film and Guardians, are we post-peak superhero?
No.
And the grumpy old man returns.
I don't think so. Wait, post would be so back up on the upswing?
There you go.
I don't see Guardians as an upswing.
Oh, it's totally an upswing.
It's not.
It totally is.
It's not if you're talking quality.
I am. It's a very good film.
It's not a very good film, but it made a lot of money, and we know your philosophy about the merit of anything is how much money did it generate. That determines 100% its quality.
Hey, that's one of my indicators. In a whole panoply of data, or what I like to think of as fun facts.
Oh, very good. I wonder how that applies to your salary and whether it makes you feel as if you've really achieved greatness.
No, because when it comes to my salary, there's one factor.
Yeah. All right, so let's do fun facts.
That might be the most genuine introduction of fun facts ever from you.
Yeah.
Let's do fun facts.
Hey, I said it was a season,
That's
and
true.
I'm letting you talk about fun facts.
So we should start with box office. Because it's box office is Boffo.
Boffo
box office.
We don't use Boffo enough.
We don't.
Like, why don't we? Why is it only box office is Boffo?
I don't know.
Can anything else be Boffo?
I don't think so.
I've never heard about anything that was Boffo.
I think because Boffo
office.
is sort of like at least most of the letters in box office. Maybe it's because Boffo is derived from box office
so
in
it's
some
like
way.
Box
yeah.
Boffo.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work, but maybe that's what it is.
I like the O at the end.
You flip the O to the two F's to get the Boffo.
You should do Waffle
or Boof.
Yeah, it's no good.
Box off.
Anyway, let's talk about the Bafo numbers.
Yes.
Because otherwise we'll never get done.
So going into the weekend, they were predicting that it was going to do about 80 to 90 million.
Is that a good number? Or
It's a decent number.
Okay.
The first film did 35 million for its first week.
Oh, well, inflation.
First weekend, sorry.
Inflation, but still.
So they were predicting 80, 90.
Okay.
It did 120.5.
Yeah.
Second biggest opening of the year behind?
After Sun?
Yes. Yes, behind After Sun.
After Sun made $12 actually.
Yeah, no, behind the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, I thought you were leading me to Guardians.
No, it's not. No,
Okay.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers did that well?
Yes, it did 146 its opening weekend.
Wow.
It's the biggest opening so far this year.
Do people like it?
Spider-Verse 2. Kids do. Kids seem to have loved it.
Okay. I've not read or heard or seen anything.
Yeah, no, it did really well. It, kids and like Nintendo fans,
okay.
The target audience for it seems to have generally liked it. But Spider-Verse is number 2.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. The first film only did 35 million its opening weekend.
That's what I understand.
And then eventually did like 190 total in box office.
That's it?
That's actually a pretty good number when you start at 35.
Really? So, but what would be like a real Bafo final number?
Well, if you apply the same multiplier to this film and its opening box office, this film would make 650 million by the end of its run.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that would be pretty good for
What did what did Endgame make?
I didn't go that deeply into.
Okay. I'm just curious. I'm trying to contextualize the numbers.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
for viewers, but that takes the fun out of it.
The man
right?
who expresses disdain at the numbers.
I'm just trying to make them meaningful for people who are like sitting through this part of the podcast waiting for the good stuff.
You want meaningful numbers, okay? So we can talk about it in terms of legs.
Oh, I do like legs.
Comparing
Does it have
to
Bafo legs?
Well, it's hard to say because Guardians 3 had did pretty good. In terms of legs. In terms of legs. Did really well in terms of having legs.
Wait, it did really well in terms of having legs.
In terms of having legs. That's a standard phrase for a movie for a movie like keeping its audience.
No, having legs, yeah, but in terms of having legs, it was a weird phrasing,
well.
I think.
Guardians had legs. Had good legs.
I'm sure Weinstein said a lot of things.
Oh, that's
All right, go on. Go on, come on, continue.
Now you've soured and now you've made it, you've sullied the legs. So I'm just going to skip all that. I did a deep dive into second and third day numbers, and now you've just ruined it for me. So
I would feel bad about that.
No, you don't.
And yet I feel like I stepped into the breach.
So this opening puts it at number 7 for all-time opening weekends in June.
Oh, I thought you were going to say for superhero movies.
No, I didn't.
Do you have numbers for superhero movies?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm just curious, like, how it fits with that.
I do have...
so 6th best June ever.
7th.
7th, wow.
Behind Toy Story 4 and ahead of Man of Steel. Here's a fun fact.
Okay, that seems...
With the exception of the Incredible Hulk movie,
okay,
no MCU film has released in June.
Is this an MCU film?
Technically, I don't know. Well, I mean, we do see connections to the MCU.
There are, yeah, I suppose you could call it. But,
so it's kind of, in which case I would like to redo the draft with the same positioning, and I will take Into the Spider-Verse first. Because now it's sort of an MCU film.
Well, I'm taking Across second, then.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Zach is taking both Avengers
movies. And then Zach's taking both Avengers movies.
Yeah.
And also the Hawkeye series, just for,
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Right.
So it's also number 6 in terms of all times opening for animated films.
Okay.
Can you guess any of the ones that are ahead of it?
Frozen.
Close.
Frozen 2?
Yes. Frozen 2 is 4th.
Okay. What else opened big? Zach, what do you got?
Probably Toy Story.
No.
Really? Wow. The Incredibles.
Close.
Incredibles 2
is number 1.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that one. No. Yeah.
Interesting.
My generation, we were all there.
Yeah, my kids missed it for some reason.
Well, we saw it. We were not impressed. We were not. Yeah, Incredibles 2 was not.
It.
Yeah,
I waited, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Incredibles 2 is number 1. I've already mentioned number 2.
Toy Story 4?
No. Toy Story 4 is actually number 5.
Oh.
Super Mario Brothers is number 2.
Oh, it is animated, isn't it?
Yes. And then number 3 is Finding Dory.
Not Finding Nemo.
No.
Wow.
It says something, I guess.
All
about
the
I mean,
sequels.
sequels generally, well, except for Super Mario Brothers, everything else is a sequel.
Wait until Super Mario 2 comes out.
Yeah. So, But yeah, but still
Something about
sixth all-time opening.
So it's a triumph of art.
It's been really
and commerce.
successful. Yeah. And then on Rotten Tomatoes,
I did see those numbers.
yeah,
They were both mid-90s.
95 with critics,
When I looked.
96 with audiences.
Ooh, they've gone up a little bit since I last looked.
Into the Spider-Verse was 97 with critics, 94 with audiences. So it seems like people are
I could see that. Like
reacting to it pretty well. So, yeah.
It does seem popular. It does
Yep.
seem to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else is there to talk about?
I think we're done.
Done and done.
Buffalo legs.
So, yes. So, where would you like to start in terms of talking about the film?
So I wanted to start by thinking about what we were talking about the last time we talked about the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
And because in many ways, I think this film was a triumph in many ways, like the first one was.
Mhm.
I think there are like many things you could say. Do you know what DC was releasing at the same time that the first Spider-Verse film came out?
Oh. It wasn't Wonder Woman, was it?
It was not. It was Aquaman.
Oh, okay.
And so the lead on my notes was like, I was thinking DC must be really dispirited.
Well, now they've got Flash coming out in 2 weeks.
Well, that's actually the next thing that I say in my notes because I had to sit through that trailer for The Flash in the theater.
But James Gunn says the Flash movie is the best superhero movie ever. Yeah, I'm not.
He also made Guardians 3
Yeah, well,
and Suicide Squad. Or the
yeah,
Suicide Squad.
he made the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. But that Flash trailer, the funny parts weren't funny. The CGI, the big battle at the end, the CGI battle is like on this desert plain. It looks like the Gorilla Grodd CW CGI approach to a big budget film. They're leaning so heavily on Keaton, I think, to like be the hook that pulls people in.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Well, and
there was
I
nothing
saw
about it.
I saw
right?
something on Twitter today where a person was comparing it to the Green Lantern film and the way in which that, Jeff Johns wrote that Green Lantern film and just filled it all with the Green Lantern lore.
Yeah.
Which nobody was into. And they're like, yeah, Flashpoint is not the place to start with this, like with your Flash film. Like,
I would assume not.
so.
By the way, it's such a tired story at this point. In part because Across the Spider-Verse just kind of beat him.
That was actually that was going to be one of my questions. Is where do you rank Across the Multiverse, Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
In terms of the various multiverse films we've had.
If I have to watch any multiverse film, this is the film I'm going to watch. 100%.
Yeah.
It felt like there's tons of Easter eggs in it, right? Like that's one of the complaints I'll have when we get to the complainy part.
Yes,
but it's like
I'm assuming you didn't like the baby either.
No, I had no problem with the baby.
Really?
Well, I didn't. The baby wasn't like my favorite part of the movie, but unlike you, I could be in the theater with a baby and not be unhappy.
Okay, the babies in the actual theater though were screaming during the whole movie. It was really annoying.
Fair enough.
Why are you? It was my fault for the first one. Is my fault for going to a 3:30 showing. I'm like, well, of course the kids are going to be here at 3:30.
Yeah. You didn't find any joy in watching it with kids?
Not the screaming kids, no.
Okay. Anyway, there were a lot of Easter eggy kinds of things going on, but I never felt like that was the point of what they were doing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's there, but it's not the point.
The movie's doing something more.
Yeah.
And when I complain about Easter eggs, it's often just because
the Easter eggs are the point.
Howard Duck is in a cage or whatever, and we're all supposed to be like, oh, Howard's in a cage, but it doesn't really matter in terms of the story. And in fact, some of the issues I think the film raises that are really interesting philosophically to kind of just consider are supported by the multiverse as opposed to like just servicing a multiverse to like show lots of different Spider-Man characters.
Yeah.
So if I have to watch a multiverse movie, this is the one. And in fact, this is one I want to watch again.
And not Into the Spider-Verse?
To me, again, I don't have TBS. I have not watched Into the Spider-Verse since I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
So it's a little fuzzy in my brain. I would have had them about even with each other.
I give Into the Spider-Verse because there are, a lot of the things that I really liked about Into Spider-Verse was some of the things that it did, particularly like in terms of the animation that was new.
Right.
And there's there's no real way for this film to duplicate that quite as much.
It's fair.
So
Into the Spider-Verse does have that first time.
Yeah.
It's like drafting Iron Man 1.
That's really the difference between them is I'm just like, Into the Spider-Verse is just so well done and such a well-written film, as is this.
We both love the movie.
Yeah.
I think this one's just as good.
Yeah.
Like it still felt fresh to me.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I had to watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trailer.
Oh, that
before
just... You mean the one that clearly is trying to Spider-Verse the Teenage Mutant?
Yeah,
Turtles?
100%.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're trying to do, and it feels a little stale already in that trailer, but it doesn't in the sequel.
Yeah,
not at all to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I if you were coming waiting for me to complain about multiverses,
I was hoping that you were going to like this film. If there's any multiverse film that had a chance of you liking it, it was this, because I know obviously we're both huge fans of the first one. I was like, and this is a really good film.
Even when a fight scene maybe ran longer than I would have liked it to.
Yeah.
It's just so visually dynamic.
And
aesthetically interesting that I could kind of disconnect myself from the overly long fisticuffs and just like appreciate. Like it felt like art.
Yeah.
As opposed to kind of like, I think
part
Oscar
of it,
Mayer produced sausage or whatever.
Well, but I think part of it too is that you do get the overly long fisticuff scene when he's being pursued by all the spiders.
Right.
But then there's a point to that, and that you realize, the script says, well, Miles does that on purpose to get them all away from where he needs to go.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, it makes sense now that it is kind of an but also a beautifully animated.
Just right.
Like from the moment from the moment of that scene in the film, well, and maybe even when they go to Spider-Man India's world, like the moment stuff gets moving in that film, it does not really stop until the end.
No, and a lot of films like that just become frantic in a way that's not enjoyable.
Yeah,
this film never has that. Trouble.
I think part of it is that they spend a lot of time in the first, say, third of the film doing basic character work. Right. With Miles and his family, and Miles and Gwen, and Miles and Spot. Like, it's all it's a lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
And so we're not at that frenetic pace for the whole film.
Right. But it's frenetic for a long stretch.
Yeah, once it starts frenetic, it stays that way.
Speaking of Miles, I think he's my favorite big screen Spider-Man.
He's a great Spider-Man.
He might be my favorite Spider-Man. I think the writers in Shamik Moore that plays him, Miles is great. I think he, more than any other Spider-Man that we've seen, captures kind of the original spirit of Peter Parker.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Because like Garfield is frankly too good looking. Yeah. To really quite be Peter Parker.
Yeah, Holland would be probably the next closest for me.
Yeah, even though he has he just oozes charisma in a way that Miles doesn't. In his civilian identity, I think he gets closest to kind of the essence of
that's true.
That character. Like I just think he's just
well, I think part of it too
good.
is that I think not that this is a diss on Holland or anything,
right? No, I'm not.
But I don't know that those films spend as much time as this one does on the civilian identity,
right?
Like, Miles and his parents and all of that there's a lot of time and material and script spent on them,
right. And so and again, I mean, Miles not being a white American. Also, it just makes like his struggle with identity and trying to figure out who he is and like how do you serve multiple roles. Just there's so much in the Miles character that really speaks to me that I didn't know that there was a to be continued.
See, that's one of the things that I think if I have knocks against the film, or not really a knock, but because originally when they first announced the film, it was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1.
Yeah.
Because the original, the third film was going to be Part 2.
Right.
And then at some point they changed it to Across and then Beyond is the next film.
Right.
And particularly the first night that I went to see it, so I knew the cliffhanger was coming. I'm like, I know this is Part 1. This is Empire Strikes Back.
If I knew that, I did not.
This is Infinity War. Well, neither were the people sitting next to me because they were not happy.
Yeah,
and I really wonder how many people had that experience because originally they did kind of telegraph. Because I remember we talked about it when it was first announced. One of my concerns was like, oh God, if this is a 2-part film, is it just going to be this completely like overblown, like massive thing that's just like I don't know that we need a 2-part Across the Spider-Verse prior to seeing this film. Now I'm totally fine with 2 parts.
There were definitely people who groaned in my audience when, and it was interesting. It was almost like an afterthought the way it just flashed up in the little comic narrative box, then just disappeared.
Yeah, to be continued.
Now you could kind of feel people saying, "Really?"
Yeah.
kind of sitting in a moment of anticipation.
Yeah. So I think it doesn't seem to have hurt the audience reception or anything like that. But I do kind of, I was surprised that people were like, seemed visibly upset at the fact that it was part 1 of 2. And I'm like, I was like, you probably shouldn't have dropped that.
But it was so good that like, I'm totally in for part 2.
It's a great cliffhanger.
And just to go back to Miles real quickly, I think he's the most human of all the Spider-Men that we get on the big screen, which is kind of ironic because he's not played by a person, like in the flesh.
Yeah.
But he's just, and he's the right Spider-Man too. He's got the right kind of jokiness that's not like almost like dad jokey kind of funny and the kinds of lines he drops. This is Spider-Man for me.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I really like is the way that this film sort of kind of flips the theme of Into the Spider-Verse, because Into the Spider-Verse was kind of Miles figuring out that he could be Spider-Man.
Right.
And this is kind of the flip of that, is Miles knows he's Spider-Man and is having to push back at everyone that's telling him, particularly Miguel O'Hara, that's telling him he's not.
Right. Or his parents. Yeah, well, in some ways, right? Because he's negotiating what does it mean to be Spider-Man, but not to my parents, right?
Yeah.
And
I think he's also negotiating. And you can probably speak to this more in terms of like, he seemed to me like a very typical 15-year-old boy.
Yeah, like the next line in my notes, it's kind of like how much the movie is about parents and kids.
Yeah.
In ways that I thought were interesting and nuanced and didn't make it too easy. And again, made not only Miles, but his parents seem, again, like really even Gwen's dad.
Yeah. Who we only see in this film for the first time.
Right. And it doesn't get as much time maybe to develop, but like the focus on family really hit home for me. And the speech she gives, his mom gives to Miles.
Yeah.
Where she says, I've been taking care of this little boy for his whole life. Now you need to take care of that little boy. Holy. Yeah. That just like, like as a parent, like you come to that moment and it's like beautiful, but it's hard. And I could feel her heartbreak.
Yeah. There's also the moment where I think
at the same time.
I can't remember if it's the dad or the mom that says Miles is growing up. We have to grow up too, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the real challenges of parenting, right? Is that you're not raising.
Oh, you don't have to explain the challenges of parenting.
It's a fair point. I'll let it go. but obviously, like you raise kids to be independent adults, and it's the greatest thing in the world watching your kids kind of strike out in the world and do cool stuff. And it's the worst thing in the world because you realize that relationship you once had is not one that you can like healthfully sustain for your entire life. I thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot that the writers of this film, I think, get right in terms of Miles and his relationship with the parents, Gwen and her relationship with the dad. Like, there's a lot that I think just reads as true.
And it was interesting to me because I went with Vicky's parents, me and Vicky's sister, and her kids. So we had like literally 3 generations. Kids loved it. Yeah. Vicky and I loved it. And I talked more with Vicky's mom about it. Yeah. And she really enjoyed it too. Yeah. And I think she said like there was a lot going on in terms of references to other Spider-Men.
Yes.
She was just like,
well, the nice thing is none of them are really necessary to get the film. As long as you understand that there are multiple Spider-Man running around, you don't need to know, the gunslinger and the horse widow.
It seems like it would be easier to do than it is. Like I think some of the Marvel stuff that's been multiversal is just hasn't done it well. But this was, you're right. It could work for the super nerd fan who knew all of that stuff, and it could work for somebody like my mother-in-law who's like stepping into like Spider-Man for kind of maybe the first time. And what she really liked was the family relationships. Like what really spoke to her was that amidst all the frenzy and the freneticism and amidst all of the Spider-Man, like there's a real story with a heart at the center of this movie.
Well, I think that's true.
That's what I've been missing in the MCU.
I think that's true of the Spider-Verse films in general, is that there's a lot of heart in
I would say that's true of both of them. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if Graham saw that one or not. But like the crowd's energy was great. I haven't been around a crowd that was that engaged with the film in a while. Even Guardians 3 didn't get the laughter and the kind of like the cheering in and then like clapping when it was done. Like this was a film that seemed to connect to the audience differently than anything I've seen since COVID. I guess really the last time I saw an audience do this would have been in those Avengers movies that Zach drafted away from you.
You're going to have to narrow it down. Because I'm pretty sure I got Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah.
Oh, you got both of those?
Yeah, I got both of those.
Oh, I thought Zach
And I got
those,
The only one he got was the first
I
one.
took the OG.
I think I got Age of Ultron too, because no one wants
And
Age of Ultron.
you're unhappy with that because you just missed the first Avengers?
Because I love the first Avengers.
That seems very...
He just wanted Hawkeye, and he didn't get him.
So,
Yeah.
I've not
Don't remind
seen...
me of that, Sam.
It's the end of Infinity War,
Mm-hmm.
and then the end of Endgame.
Yeah.
Elicited a response from people in the audience that I haven't seen since.
I would say No Way Home had some of that response, particularly when the Spider-Men show up. And in the theater that I went to.
In the theater I was in, not.
Yeah, when I went,
didn't see
there
when
was
it first dropped.
Yeah,
it
see,
was
I
a
saw
little
it
bit late.
I saw it
maybe
opening
people-
night, and the fans were cheering and all that.
So maybe people knew that was coming.
So I saw that in
when
No
I
Way
saw it.
Home, but other than that, I would
thought-
say Infinity War. I mean, this film has very strong kind of Infinity War, Empire Strikes Back vibes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like this is a film everybody should go see.
Yeah.
And probably more than once.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about as we kind of continue moving along.
Yeah.
The conversation. Oh,
Yeah.
one more thing about Miles that I kind of liked
Mm-hmm.
was this movie was about canon in a way.
Yes.
In a really, I thought you would appreciate.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk
You want to
about.
talk a little
is
bit
kind
about
of
canon?
Well,
Yeah.
and in particular talking about canon, but also kind of the representation of Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man 2099.
Oh, I was going to go with a different kind of representation, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, in terms of kind of thinking about, the way in which that he's this character that's so invested into canon and maintaining the canon
Oh my
and
God,
telling
you're Miguel
people
O'Hara.
and telling no telling people who is and who isn't a Spider-Man. I'm
Yeah.
like, is he like an incel fan? Like there's this
Oh, I just called
like
you an incel
like
fan,
there's
which
this
is
exactly.
not
That's
what
why
I
that's
was
why,
going
that's why I don't
for.
want to be Miguel.
To be clear, I didn't mean it in
But
an
there's
incel
this,
way.
particularly
Yeah.
when you see that Miguel is insisting on canon being preserved,
Right.
and the way in which that he's, particularly when he's opposed to Miles, and he's basically saying, Miles, you don't count as a Spider-Man,
Right.
and given the somewhat resistance there has been to Miles from a certain element of comic fandom, like I wonder how much of like. It was something I was like, yeah, just every time they said the word canon, I'm like, okay, like they have to be doing this.
Right.
And then the other thing that struck me is that I haven't read the Spider-Man 2099 comics,
I have not either.
but I get the feeling that this version is much more kind of 90s extreme edgelord version than the actual comic version.
Right. Okay.
Because it seems like this is supposed to be like almost kind of like a 90s version of Spider-Man that's like the super cool ninja vampire version.
I'm going to nod like I know what edgelord means.
It basically
Yeah.
means incel.
Oh, okay.
Or like super. It's
Yeah.
another term that you see people
Okay.
call.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But like that kind of
yeah.
that really kind of extreme
I
like.
just, I don't want to get bogged down in the wokeness of
Yeah.
the movie for Ed.
Oh,
But
I'm not sure we can avoid that in
Yeah.
this film.
but I had the exact same thought. Is
Yeah.
that if there was somebody who broke the Spider-Man canon,
Mhm.
it would have been Miles for a lot of
Mhm.
a particular kind of comic book readers.
Yeah.
Right? The people who like Peter Parker is white, Peter
Mhm.
Parker, is lower middle class, Peter
Yeah.
Parker is defined in this very precise way. And I don't remember the conversation when Miles debuted,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure that there were complaints about the way in which this was just like diversity for diversity's sake.
It's hard to say because he
or-
debuted in the Ultimate Verse,
Right.
Which I don't think people were as invested
maybe
in
people
that
didn't take it
as like
seriously. But Miles is like a canon breaker,
he is,
right? And demonstrates, I think, in this film, like sometimes it's better to break the canon.
Well,
like there's something gained.
Well, I mean,
from it.
It's a subtle moment at the end, or not towards the end, when Gwen realizes that her father, in deciding not to be captain, her father has broken canon,
Yeah.
and nothing bad happened.
Right.
Like I think that's part of Gwen's realization. There is that.
Oh my God! So you're saying that you can break the canon and
And
bad
be
things don't have
yeah.
to happen?
But the other thing too is I'm like every time that Miguel O'Hara is yelling at Miles about you're not a Spider-Man, I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you're not either, Miguel. Like,
Well,
you're not a Peter.
he seems
And
maybe
you're not, and you're not a spider. Like you're having to eject yourself with some concoction
So
to have
let
your powers.
me pitch you a theory.
Yeah, I have a couple theories.
The person who's not the authentic quote unquote Spider-Man in that
Mhm.
way is going to become an even more rigorous keeper of the canon,
Mm.
right? Because once he feels like he's inside the canon, it's very important that he maintain it.
I went a more plot-based way, in the sense that
Okay.
every time that Miguel is insisting that Miles, because he says Miles is the original anomaly.
Right.
I think Miguel's the original anomaly, and he's basically trying to cover his own butt.
But I think,
but I also agree with
that
your
kind
interpretation.
of also fits with the way people kind of function. Like if you think about like an ethnic escalator in the United States, right? Like once you're Irish and you're in, you try to pull the ladder up behind you.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting
in many ways,
to
maybe
think
that's
about
what Miguel is doing in a situation.
Yeah. Well, there's also the level in which, we talk about Miles as sort of the diversifying of the Spider-Man canon.
Yeah.
Spidey 29 came out at least a decade before Miles.
Yeah.
And yet we don't really acknowledge him as diversifying Spider-Man. So
I think it's fair to say that he's been kind of forgotten.
And that's right. Is the film also kind of playing on a kind of, Miguel actually was there first, but we've kind of forgotten about Miguel. Like I found the Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man really interesting in terms of like what he might be symbolizing or representing.
I found some complaints that he felt a little underdeveloped in some ways.
I think he is, but I think a lot there's so much mystery about him, and like they said, even I can't remember if it was Peter B. Parker or some of them said, or actually no, Miles says it. He's like, "Are you even sure you're a Spider-Man with the claws and the what and the what?" And he's like, "Are you even sure you're like?" I think there's more to find out about Miguel.
Well, and I think that in the meantime, there's a lot to think about in terms of Miguel and why he is the way he is, and why the canon matters so much profoundly to him. It was one of the really interesting kind of philosophical questions I think that the film was trying to wrestle with. How do you find, if we're talking about the villains? Yeah. How about the Spot?
I loved the Spot.
How could you not?
He's I mean, again, he's one of the more ridiculous villains in the Spidey catalog.
Fair.
Setting aside typeface.
But
yeah,
showing off.
They did.
We're not making stuff up, and we're going to nod because we don't know.
Typeface is in the film.
Oh, is he?
He's one of the ones that they've got captured. He's the one that says "Go to Helvetica."
Oh, that's right.
It's Typeface.
I didn't know that was Typeface.
They call him Typeface in the film. They're like, that's Typeface.
Did I tell you the mix wasn't good?
I guess so. You're going to blame it on the mix.
I am.
Sorry to spoil the presence of Typeface for you, Zach.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
So.
I don't either. I recognize the name, but I was going somewhere with that.
But the Spot starts out as a funny kind of throwaway villain, and kind of watching him grow the way that we normally watch a superhero grow. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting...
In negative ways. Yeah.
Right, in terms of mastering powers and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's in some ways, he's going through kind of the dark version of what Miles did in the last film.
Right. He's just, going in a very different... Yeah. Very, very different.
And that he's decided that he is Miles's nemesis.
Right. Or needs to be the nemesis, right? Or is insulted that Miles doesn't consider him to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I thought, Spot was an interesting choice. I'm like, that's going pretty deep into the Spider-Man backlog, but he works great in the film.
He works. He's almost like the piece that you need.
Yeah, I think the creator said they chose him because with his abilities, he fit right into kind of the dimension. By the way, can you guess which dimension was my favorite that showed up in the film?
I'm gonna guess the Lego dimension.
Yeah, it was really. I loved that.
I was pretty happy for you. Just like the Legos were great. Like, which might get to talk a little bit about the animation style.
I do. Yeah, I do want to talk about that.
Like the Da Vinci style Vulture was so much fun.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things I found interesting because it got me to thinking about the last film. The way in which that they really, at least for some of the Spider-Man, really kind of differentiated either their appearance or their world's appearance. Like Spider-Punk is sort of put together from paper. Right. In a lot of ways. When we go to Gwen's world, it's very much in watercolor and kind of pastels and things like that. Which I was kind of like, we didn't really do that in the first film. But I'm like, well, we're in Miles' universe for the entirety of the first film. Right. All we get are the characters like Penny and Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir that all come into the real world, but still have like the nature of their world in their appearance. So it made sense when we go to other people's worlds, like Spider-Man India's world, that they're all very much, a lot of them are very different. For sure. Yeah, I thought it was great. And there were also, I thought, nods to various comic book artists. Like one of the canon I know that is clearly like Jack Kirby. Yeah, well, I know for the watercolor effect in Gwen's world, I think I read something where the creator said they were trying to mimic the covers of her comics.
Yeah.
Which I guess had a
So
similar.
those kinds of nods, I thought were just like
Yeah.
a little additional,
Mm-hmm.
bonus. Can I give you a bonus fair or foul?
Oh, sure.
This is from Forbes.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
the magazine of capitalism should be explaining our art to us.
Pretty much.
Here's what Forbes wrote. Across the Spider-Verse is a beautifully animated film that's bursting with wild color and inventive artwork. It takes everything from the first movie and does it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Every single scene is something to gawk at.
That's fine.
The movie isn't content to simply follow the art style of the first film.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's trying to do kind of the next most logical thing in kind of the way it's so uniquely animated Miles' universe in the first film,
Right.
uniquely animating the other worlds that we see in this film
But
makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the terrific.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. I mean, even setting aside what they do with the different worlds, like the way in which the film is animated, particularly like the chase scene, is just a beautiful work of animation.
Yeah.
And the way, because it is a very long chase scene, but it doesn't really feel that bogged down.
No, it visually you could.
Yeah.
I think you could turn the volume off on the film.
Yeah.
And watch long stretches without getting bored because it's really, really interesting. It also tries to raise big questions. Like one of the final things I wanted to kind of praise was kind of the way it wrestles with the idea of fate versus choice in posing kind of Miguel, like everything's preordained.
Yeah.
We have to make sure nothing changes so that we can sustain. And to me, that makes Miguel like the classic contemporary bad guy because one of his character flaw that leads him the wrong direction is this sense of certainty. Like he is so certain about what he thinks he knows that he's unable to think about the world in new or broader, innovative ways, right? Like the certainty is at the core. I think there's no room for nuance or complexity.
Well, it's also, I mean, kind of thinking another way that I would phrase it too is that, Miguel resists any kind of change from the canon, which again is ironic because he's one of the most fundamentally different or changed characters from the Spider-Man
as we've
mythos.
already talked about, I think there's real meaning to be read in the fact that he's not a quote unquote real Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, I feel like there. I think that's something the plot's going to come back to. I think, but you're right that even just kind of beyond that, in terms of what he symbolizes.
Yeah, I think there's something there about the way in which certainty and wedding yourself to the way things have always been done.
Yeah,
is a villainous kind of behavior in a world kind of facing the catastrophes we are. Whereas Miles, on the other hand, really is making the argument that like we're agents of our own destiny. Like I'm Spider-Man, I'm supposed to do both.
Yeah.
Like Miguel says, you can save one person or you can save the world.
Yeah.
And Miguel is like, or excuse me, Miles is like, no, like Spider-Man does both.
Spider-Man does both.
I save both the individual and the world. What would you do if you were Miles? How much risk would you be willing to take to kill an entire universe of people to save that one person?
I don't even
like. Do you think Miles is right to take that risk? It's a massive risk he's taking, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the key to Miles and to Spider-Man, is the trying to do both.
Right.
Not necessarily succeeding.
Sure.
But the key is the trying to do both is sort of essential to, like, that's what makes, and again, that's another thing that makes Miles different from Miguel.
Right.
Is, Miles and other, true Spider-Men don't make that choice. They act trying to do both.
Right.
And
although there's a lot of Spider-Men in that Spider Town that
Spider Society
that have kind of gravitated towards Miguel's.
It's hard to say because
approach.
They're all. I mean, it depends how much they know. I mean, Miguel just tells them get Spider-Man, and they do. I don't know how many. Because you can already see that there's. I mean, even in the core group of characters that are running around, you kind of see. I mean, obviously, Spider-Punk is fractious from Miguel's point of view from the get-go,
right?
But in the end, you've also got, Spider-Man India's with him, with Gwen.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Bite is the Avatar one. She's with him. and had plenty of opportunity to stop
Yeah.
Miles from escaping and
So
doesn't.
at least some are.
So there are some. I think
kind of moving
Jessica
in
Drew,
that
I think,
direction.
is still with Miguel, but she's
wavering.
at least got
clearly.
questions about it.
Anyway, that was a dodge to your answer. What would you do?
I'd like to think that I would try to do both.
I think that's a really honest answer because
But I don't know.
I think we often go to the theater.
I want to be like Miguel and not change and have cool ninja vampire powers.
and save an entire planet's worth of people.
Yeah, I mean, ignoring the fact that he did kill one whole planet's worth of people already.
Well, so you've learned your lesson.
Because he was selfish.
Well, but you're not Miguel, so you can just
No.
protect the planet now without having a planet's death upon you. Anyway, it's an interesting question, and I think as your answer suggests, it's more complicated than we want to think it is.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to just side with Miles, but you can also understand something about the way, and that's important for the villain, right? You can understand something about there's something organically true about how he thinks about the world.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of the classic, the need of the many outweighs the need of the few or the one,
Right.
kind of thing.
Classic
And it's that sort of classic, that's obviously if you can save one or you can save millions, you save millions.
I think I saw a meme about a trolley. And
Yeah,
people
exactly.
on the tracks.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so
it's the trolley.
It's a very contemporary debate.
Yeah, Miguel's the one that let the one die to save all the other people.
Right,
Let the
absolutely.
trolley run over the one person.
And Miguel's let lots of people die in that way.
Has he?
Well, he's watched all these other canon. Well, I guess I don't know
where
he stepped in.
I mean, because we do. That's the question. We do
Because
we do see them with Spider-Man India. Like they do go there and they're trying to contain the giant hole in his world now.
But only because the wrong thing happened.
Right.
though,
But that's
right?
what I'm wondering is where else has he?
Right. How often he's intervened, we don't.
Yeah.
I guess we don't know.
Yeah.
So, any other big praise for the film? I've got one complaint I want to share with you.
Oh, I did enjoy the other one that I really did enjoy in terms of the style. I liked the Scarlet Spider Ben Reilly being very kind of the again a much more obvious parody of your 90s
kind of the self-narrating superhero movie.
Yeah, I enjoy that he's basically a Mark Bagley drawing.
Yeah,
on the screen.
Yeah, and it's
though apparently Ben Reilly fans are not happy with his. They don't like him being made a joke.
Okay, well, number one, it's weird. There are Ben Reilly fans. Let's
I knew you
just
were gonna go
establish
there.
that. I guess if Hawkeye had been turned into a joke, you'd probably feel similarly.
I like to think I'm more enlightened.
Hawkeye's already a joke.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that from someone. Like I figured that was coming from someone.
No, they took him very seriously in the films.
They did.
There's no.
There's no shot.
It wasn't like the Ben Reilly treatment that we
No.
saw. I like the idea that like there's a nod to kind of a Bagley-esque kind of a like that guy's done a lot of work.
He's done a lot of work on Spider-Man too.
Yeah. And
he drew Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, to have that kind of credit, I think is important and worthwhile.
Yeah, and I
even
enjoy,
if he's not like a superstar.
Yeah,
like
with him and with the Spider-Punk character, I liked the way their characters were just kind of a different texture.
Yeah.
Than anyone else.
This film has so many layers of texture.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Apparently they. I read. I think this was on the Wikipedia article, but I think the producers said to Sony, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be the same size animating team as the first film," and then they had like 1,000 animators on the film.
Yeah,
like it's not.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine just the logistics.
Oh yeah,
of putting this thing together.
Yeah.
Let alone
I know doing the animation in the way that they did for Into the Spider-Verse took forever.
Yeah.
That's how I can only imagine.
When's part 3 come?
Next year. They did them both together.
Okay, good.
So
because I cannot wait 5 more years.
Yeah, no, part 3 is 2024. I'm assuming probably around the same time. But yeah, sometime next year. So yeah, we don't have to wait that long. Though I literally want the next movie now.
Oh, me too. Me too. I would have sat in the theater.
Yeah,
and watched 2 more hours.
When's part 2 on?
And you know how I feel about overly long films.
This is 2.5 hours almost. It's a long film, but it doesn't feel like it.
And yet, when the to be continued flashed up there, I thought it was like an in joke for a minute.
No,
and that it was going to just roll over and the movie was going to continue. I did not realize we'd been there 2.5 hours. Yes,
I thought both in terms of the art and just the pacing. I thought the climax of the film was really well done in terms of revealing where Miles is versus where Gwen is.
It's a brilliant place to hit that to be continued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny the way in which they hint at it in a lot of ways. Another place where
Right.
where both, because when he's in alternate Miles's room and he puts on the big puffy jacket, it's purple and green. It's Prowler colors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I do sort of wonder, because he's back in the world where his spider came from.
Right.
And that spider was supposed to bite someone else.
Right.
I'm really wondering if they're going to reveal like who was
That would be
the other person.
That'd be a really interesting layer to add.
Well, because I'm part of me, and I don't think this works out plot wise, but there was a point where I was wondering if part of Miguel's anger at Miles is that Miguel is the one that was supposed to get bit by that spider.
Oh, so like the different timelines aren't synced up in terms of the date then?
Well, I'm not sure it makes any sense.
Yeah.
Well, because I was trying to figure out, could we see that Miguel left his world to go to the other one where Miguel died? The other Miguel died.
Right.
And then I was like, well, is that leaving Miguel's world without a Spider-Man? And I was like, ooh, is that the world without a Spider-Man that Miles' spider came from? But I think that world is the one that Miguel is actually in now, where they're having the big change. Because it's Nueva York, which is where he's from.
It does get confusing.
So because I was like, oh, is that part of Miguel's resentment? Is that
Right.
he was supposed to be the one, but I don't think it works in terms of the way the worlds are set up.
Yeah.
Because I think the world he went to fell apart, and then he went back to his world,
right?
And that's where he set up the Spider Society.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think of another reason why it doesn't make sense for him to blame Miles.
Yeah. Because
if Miles is the reason for this, Miguel already had the Spider Society going well before Miles came along.
Right, and if Miles needs to have his dad die to become Spider-Man, right? It's obviously not true because Miles is already Spider-Man. He's already like a fully fledged Spider-Man. Like he's already got that moral compass.
Well, it's the other thing that also doesn't.
Uncle Ben's death gives Spider-Man.
Well,
right?
That's because he lost his Uncle Aaron. Uncle Aaron in the first movie is the death.
So then he doesn't need it. So why?
Well, no,
why
because
would Miguel be so hung up on his dad?
Because his dad. Because that's the thing. It's a different moment. When they refer to the moment as ASM 90, they're talking about the original comic Amazing Spider-Man 90, in which Captain George Stacy is killed during a fight between Spider-Man and Doc Ock.
Yeah,
and because that's the reason why from that time on for decades, Spider-Man was being pursued by the police was because they thought he was the one that caused Captain George Stacy's death when he's saving the kid.
That's a lot of background.
Because that's the thing. There's when he's talking about canon, I'm not surprised this is the moment where your eyes glazed over a little bit. Probably is that there's the death of Uncle Ben.
Right.
There's because you can see it very briefly in the shots.
Okay.
There's the putting the Spider-Man costume in the trash can and walking away.
Right.
There's the lifting the giant pile of rubble. And the other thing you see is the shot of Peter marrying Mary Jane.
Yeah.
And so the death of Captain Stacy is another one of those. It's one of those things that every Spider-Man is supposed to experience. But it raises me the question of, okay, so Miles is an anomaly. So why does it matter if his story is then anomalous?
Right. And he's already a hero. Like, it seems like all these events are like defining the hero.
Yeah.
And
so I mean,
15-year-old, he's pretty defined.
So the thing is well, I think that's the thing we talked about I think we talked about the first film is there's that moment where Miles is explaining like his backstory to all of the other Spider-Men, and Spider-Man Noir is like, well, it's a seriously dark backstory, and that's before Aaron gets killed. Like, Miles has a lot of stuff going on.
Right. Yeah.
But so it's not. It's more that because the canon moment that Miguel is focused on is a police captain close to Spider-Man dies trying to save a kid.
Right.
Because that's Gwen with her dad.
Right.
That's Spider-Man India with his girlfriend's dad.
No.
And that's Miles with his dad.
I get it.
So the fact that it's Miles' dad is not really important.
I just feel like Miguel might be a little overly invested.
Yes.
In those kinds of events when Spider-Man already exist.
Yeah. Well, it's the other thing too is because we haven't gotten Miguel's origin yet.
Right.
And I don't know how closely they're sticking to the comics. Right. There's none of this in Miguel's origin.
I did read a little bit about him. He worked for Alchemex.
Yeah, and basically got tricked into then had like none of that is the classic Spider-Man origin either. So I'm like, You're even less of a Spider-Man than Miles.
So as my eyes glaze
Sorry.
over, we get to the one complaint I have about the film, which is not a huge complaint,
Mm-hmm.
but there's almost too much going on on the screen sometimes.
There's a lot, yeah.
And in that way, I feel like it's the kind of movie you need to watch 2 or 3 times, just to be at the beginning of kind of encompassing all that's up there, and almost like something I'm going to have to watch at home eventually, where I can actually like pause, and read all of the narrative bubbles.
Well, I think
kind of like pop up and disappear.
Well, there's the one moment where one of the moments that jumps out to me in that regard was when they're fighting Italian Renaissance Vulture.
Yeah,
and he like pulls some weapon out of midair, and I think Miguel says something about like, oh, he has access to the Hammerverse, and then there's like a little text box.
I love that
basically
like,
explaining the
reference.
hammer. I'm like, oh, it's like
Beautiful.
it's like the Hammerverse is where Spider-Ham got his hammer in the last film,
Right.
but that box is only up there for a split second.
It's there and then it's gone, and it's to me it reminded me why I loved reading comic books as a kid, because I could actually stop.
Yeah.
And really like take in the whole, and that's what makes the movie different. I'm not saying worse necessarily, but different. I love the little footnotey text boxes.
Well, I think
beautiful.
The other moment that
so
does it is
fast.
when they first go into the Spider Society, and there's the one who makes a spot joke, and then just Spider-Woman says something about like, oh, does anybody else have a spot joke? And then you get a ton of bubbles popping up because they're all making spot jokes.
Right.
And I think that's one where you're like, you actually have to stop if you want to see what all the spot jokes are.
Right. You'd have to watch the film 12 times to read the 12 the boxes, because there's not enough time to read more than one. Yeah. And so it's not a super serious complaint.
Yeah.
But I wish that I was watching the film in an environment where I could slow it down sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much work went into it that was very like I could appreciate the amount and kind of the way in which the amount was funny and helped to sell the story, but I really want to see the work people did. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite Spider-Man version?
Not really. I don't like picking favorites. I've decided.
Did you like Spider-Cat?
Yeah.
Did you like Spider-Rex?
I like all of the spiders, but I'm not a big dino guy. So I don't know. I don't know that I had a favorite.
I think my favorite was the car, because his name is Peter Parked Car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so, because apparently I think it was Dan Slott wanted to do that in one of his Spider-Verse comics, and they wouldn't let him. And so they got into the film. But I kind of love Peter Parked Car.
You know what you need? Peter Parkour.
Oh yeah, that would be good
one,
too.
right?
I'm surprised they don't have that. Maybe that's someone in the background.
There probably was a Peter Parkour somewhere in the background.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of liked. I have to say, I was like, Peter Parked Car is good. That is. It was. That is really.
Let's just be honest. It was a lovely movie, super entertaining,
perfectly fine.
You could go straight to hell, sir. Straight to hell. Yeah, it was.
You mean straight to Helvetica?
Yeah, so much better than pretty fine.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It's perfectly good.
It is a movie that I think clearly. When's the last time both of us so enthusiastically recommended a movie?
Okay, I was say when was the last of us both agreed? I'm like, well, we both have thought certain things have stunk. But
No, right. But I mean, like, this is.
We were probably on this. I think we were on the same page with No Way Home.
Yeah, although I think that you enjoyed the parts of it in ways that I didn't.
Yeah, possibly.
Like they're like. I mean, I liked No Way Home.
Yeah,
but this is a different level for me. Like, this is
the last time we might have been this much agreeing on a film that we both liked might have been Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and that's the most downloaded episode.
Yeah,
maybe people don't want to hear us argue; they want to hear us celebrate together.
Maybe that's the lesson to learn.
All right.
Maybe Hollywood just needs. The lesson to learn is Hollywood's that they need to make more Spider-Verses.
Make better movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm kind of. I haven't. They're talking about like a live action Miles. They're talking about doing a live action Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see them in live action. I really like the animated.
I don't know that we need them.
And
although I could see why the MCU kind of scuffling along like it is. If Miles becomes a big breakout,
well, I think it's less the
universe.
MCU than Sony. Like Sony, I'm assuming you did not like the Venom moment, if you even understood the Venom moment.
What was the Venom moment?
When Spot sticks his head and is talking to the Chinese woman in the store.
Yeah,
that's Venom's universe.
Oh, okay.
She's in both of the Venom films. She's friends with Venoms.
Okay.
I was like, that was the one moment where I was like, that's an Easter egg. You have that's the one. That was the one of all the Easter eggy moments. That's the one that's a bit too Easter eggy because if you haven't watched, the only other clue is that when he gets the pack of gum, they're Venom mints is on the label.
Yeah.
Because other than that, if you have not seen the Venom films, you would not know that he's poking his head into Venom's world.
In my defense, I would say that I have seen 0 Venom films.
Exactly.
So, like none.
Yeah, I've seen both.
Yeah. So what a great way to kick off the summer.
Yes.
I mean, it's a huge win. I'm sorry that we spoiled a little bit, maybe for Zach.
Yeah, we could have spoiled
along the
more.
way, but like it's such a this is such a
it's a really great film,
mishmash of ideas.
Which I'm because I was really apprehensive about this because I'm like, oh, it just seems so big. Yeah. Being part 2.
That was
part 1 of 2. Like I'm just like, oh, I hope
for
they're
me
not
it
going.
was the multiversal stuff. Like if it's
that's part of it
more
too.
Of that like Doctor Strange stuff, I don't necessarily.
I think it's that the multiverse and the Spider-Verse exists as a device to tell a story that's not really about the multiverse.
And the multiverse,
whereas the other
the purpose of the story.
Whereas all the other multiverses are about the multiverses.
They're kind of it's the end in itself.
The point is, exactly.
Whereas the multiverse here is a means to some larger, really interesting, heartfelt end.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The other thing I found really interesting, it got me wondering, because the first film is very much narrated and framed by Miles. This one's narrated and framed by Gwen. I was trying to think, I was like, do we ever get like third-person narration from Miles in this film? And I don't think we do. I think it's all Gwen. I know at the beginning and the end it's all Gwen.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that we really get... And so it makes me wonder, I'm like, well, who's the third film going to be narrated by? Are we going back to Miles, or is it going to be someone else?
Miguel?
I thought about Miguel. I thought maybe Peter B. Parker.
It could be Spot, too. That would be an interesting
twist. Could be Spot. Could be one of the parents. Could be the dad.
Even just an outside perspective from the villain, like looking in, watching this happen.
It's a great idea for a movie, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, here's the thing. I totally trust them. I don't
I do too.
Superhero stuff, generally speaking, but like this franchise has got it figured out.
Yeah, I mean, and it's different writers this time, too. I don't think it's the same writers as the first film. I mean, it's still Lord and Miller as producers and kind of the guiding hand, but
it's just...
They've clearly got it down.
And it bridges the gap, I think, between like straight up superhero movie and a movie that's trying to say something in a really... Yeah.
Did you like the what's his face from Community's cameo as Prowler?
Glover, right?
Glover, yeah, that's Donald Glover.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like as we come by, it was just Vicky just turned to me, was like, "Are you kidding me?" It's so good.
He's just sitting there in what looks like a Prowler costume.
Yeah,
it's like okay.
Yeah, why not?
And then you get the Andrew Garfield. You have the scenes from that. You got the Tobey Maguire. You got the
Spider-Man pointing at each other.
That was in the trailer. I was like, how do you know? That was another great moment.
Yeah, this is a good moment.
They just all like point.
Yeah,
get Spider-Man. You.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
I'm hopeful that this is a summer kickoff to like a series of movies we're going to talk about. They're going to be really good movies.
Oh, how could that fail? Because the next movie we're talking about is Flash.
See, I was thinking when I went to see Spider-Verse, there was a Barbie poster up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to Barbie.
You realize the problem.
What?
Barbie and Oppenheimer come out the same week.
And Oppenheimer looks good, too. Well, we can do 2 movies in one show.
Oppenheimer is 3 hours. Yeah, I was saying. The runtime is 3 hours. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, that's...
But... I think Barbie has potential. I think Oppenheimer.
I heard a fun fact about the Barbie movie.
Can you say fun fact, or do you have that trademark?
Do you have that trademark?
I have fun facts.
Fun facts.
Oh,
this is
Zach.
Fun
Zach.
Zach's
a media guy. He found the loophole.
If not, I can say fun Zach. Hey, there you go. So cheesy.
So cheesy.
But apparently, I saw this somewhere. Okay. Apparently, somewhere from how much pink paint that the Barbie movie used, there's an international shortage of pink paint.
That sounds about right.
Wow.
Like it that is how much they had to use for sets, for costumes.
There's probably a limited amount of pink paint created too, because
how often is pink paint made? Kids in Guatemala using pink paint.
That's right. Well, I'm done with my tins for the day. So I guess I'm going to
go
mix
buy
some paints.
a gallon of pink paint.
So, but Barbie looks great. Oppenheimer looks good.
Yeah. Flash?
No, okay. I will acknowledge that Flash maybe.
Indiana Jones?
Asteroid City?
I think Asteroid City comes out the same week as Flash.
Well, I know which one I'm going to see.
Yeah, maybe not do Flash.
Well, you're going to see.
Oh, we're talking about Flash.
There's no way we're not talking about
on
Flash.
Flash quiz.
Oh. Not because I'm enthusiastic about it.
No, that's
We're going to talk about. I think it's got to do at least as well with the multiverse as Spider-Man just did.
There's no hope for that.
Zero.
There is no hope.
Even though it's the best superhero movie ever made,
according to James Gunn. Yeah, he said it's.
What I've been told.
Yeah, I don't. I've seen. There've been a lot of like those kind of reviews, and then I've seen a couple of that have popped up on Twitter that they're like, it is a hot garbage fire. I'm like, okay, like that feels
like DC
closer to. Yeah. I just I don't see how that film can be. Any good. Like they're basically relying on everyone's nostalgia for Michael Keaton to carry.
And it's coming on the heels of Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it is. That is unfortunate
it's just the
timing.
Worst possible timing for
tank.
DC.
It's going to tank.
I bet it does well at the box office, and I bet it's a crummy movie. That's what I'm going to.
I think it's going to be. I think it'll probably do well week 1, and then I think it's probably going to have legs. A massive. Yeah, it's got, which is ironic because it's the Flash.
I see that.
It's got bad legs. I mean, it makes sense for Spider-Man to have good legs because he's got 8 of them.
Right.
Because he's a spider.
No, yeah, I think we all got that. So the Flash aside, there's a lot to look forward to this summer, and even though the podcast will be a little bit
more sporadic,
a little less regular.
I think we're off next week, right?
We are off next week,
and then I think the next show will be the Flash.
That is the plan. Yeah. Followed soon by what's coming out at the same time?
Asteroid City might come out there, or Asteroid City comes out next week. We've also got American Born Chinese to talk about too.
Oh, that's right. I need to catch up on that.
That's interesting.
It's quite different, right? Is my understanding?
See, that's the thing. It is and it isn't.
Oh, intriguing.
It's like 2/3 it is very close, and then there's like a third that's very different.
I wonder which part got changed.
You'll have
to totally different.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about that part.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, but what's interesting too is even some of the stuff that's radically changed, you can see what they're working with from. I would say you can see what they're working with from the graphic novel.
Okay.
But it's very different.
Okay. Interesting. So again.
So yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, excellent.
Excellent, and lots for our listeners to look forward to moving forward this summer.
That's right.
All right. Happy summer season.